The courtroom fell silent as the security footage played. 3 officers surrounding a terrified 7-year-old girl in the park. Then, Maya Wright stood, her military bearing unmistakable even in civilian clothes. "That's my daughter," she said, her voice steady. "And now you'll see what happens when you hunt a child whose mother was trained to hunt predators." Before we dive into this powerful story of justice and protection, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. If you believe in standing up against injustice, especially when it involves our children, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Are you ready to witness how a mother's military training becomes her community's greatest weapon against systemic discrimination? This story will show you what happens when those sworn to protect become predators and meet a very mother who refuses to be prey. The spring sunshine warmed Maya Wright's skin as she knelt in her garden, carefully transplanting heirloom tomato seedlings while keeping one eye on the community playground visible from her backyard. Her 7-year-old daughter Zora's laughter occasionally rose above the general playground sounds, a reassuring reminder that all was well in their carefully constructed world. At 34, Maya had worked hard to establish this normal civilian life in Oakwood Heights, an Atlanta suburb that had only recently begun to integrate. The decision to move here 6 months ago hadn't been easy. Maya had researched extensively, noting the neighborhood's history of resistance to Black families moving in, but the exceptional school district made the risk worthwhile for Zora's education. Since losing her husband James in Afghanistan 3 years ago, a fellow service member whose helicopter had been shot down during an extraction mission, Maya had been solely responsible for creating stability for their daughter. Her military career had been exceptional by any standard. As one of the first Black women to serve as a Navy Special Warfare Combatant Craft crewman, Maya had broken barriers and proven herself repeatedly in the elite Maritime Special Operations Force. The rigorous training had forged her into someone who could operate under extreme pressure, who could assess threats instantly, who could move through hostile territory undetected, and who could, when necessary, eliminate threats with lethal precision. Her 12 years of service had taken her to places few Americans would ever see, doing things that would never appear in official records. But Maya had deliberately left that life behind when James died, recognizing that Zora needed at least one parent with a predictable schedule and a safe job. Now, she channeled her precision and discipline into hospital administration, where her leadership skills and crisis management experience made her a rising star. Maya wiped sweat from her brow and glanced toward the playground again, noticing Zora was no longer visible on the swings where she'd been playing with her friend Emma. Not immediately concerned, she scanned the play structures, expecting to spot her daughter's distinctive purple shirt and braided hair adorned with colorful beads. The sound of children shouting drew her attention to the far side of the park, where several kids were running toward the neighborhood streets, expressions of alarm visible even from this distance. Maya's heartbeat quickened slightly as she stood instinctively wiping her hands on her gardening apron while her eyes continued their methodical sweep of the playground. "Zora," she called, walking toward the fence that separated their yard from the community green space. A small figure burst through the gate at the side of their yard, Zora running at full speed, her face streaked with tears, clothes dirty and disheveled. "They're beating me, Mama! They're beating me!" she screamed, voice raw with terror as she gasped for breath between sobs. Maya moved instantly, military training overriding everything else as she scooped up her daughter while simultaneously scanning for threats, her body automatically positioning to shield the child. 3 uniformed police officers appeared at the park entrance, one pointing directly toward Maya's yard with an expression that sent ice through her veins. She recognized that look of authoritative certainty, of righteous pursuit. Holding Zora close, Maya noticed the forming bruise on her daughter's arm, a scrape bleeding on her knee, dirt smudging her clothes as if she'd been thrown to the ground. The rage that surged through her was primal, maternal, but the discipline of her training kept it contained, channeled, useful rather than overwhelming. Inside now, Maya said, calmly carrying Zora quickly toward their home while keeping her eyes on the officers who were now approaching her property line. Once inside, with the door locked, Maya knelt before her trembling daughter. "Baby, tell me what happened." Quick version. Through broken sobs, Zora explained she had been playing with Emma's new doll, which Emma had let her borrow. Another parent, Karen Simmons, whose daughter Lily attended the same school, had accused Zora of stealing the toy. Despite Emma's protests that she had given Zora permission, Karen had called the police. When officers arrived, they had immediately approached Zora aggressively. Frightened, she had run, and they had chased her, one grabbing her arm roughly enough to leave marks. Pounding on the front door interrupted Zora's account, demanding voices calling for Maya to open up immediately. Maya's mind shifted fully into tactical assessment. 3 armed officers outside, 1 traumatized child inside, unknown intentions but demonstrated willingness to use force against a 7-year-old. Her military training offered clear options for neutralizing these threats, but her maternal instinct and civilian identity demanded different solutions. "Zora, go to your room and stay there until I call you," Maya instructed, voice gentle but brooking no argument, as she quickly photographed her daughter's injuries with her phone. She activated their home security system to record everything, then straightened her shoulders and moved toward the door. "Remember what Mama taught you?" she asked, pausing with her hand on the doorknob. Zora nodded, tears still streaming but composure returning slightly. "Sometimes we have to be brave different ways," she recited. "That's right," Maya affirmed, her expression shifting into a calm mask that revealed nothing of the tactical calculations happening behind her eyes. "And today, that's what we're going to do." Maya opened her front door to find 3 officers standing on her porch, a senior white officer with a crew cut and aggressive stance, whose nameplate read Daniels, a younger white officer who seemed uncomfortable with the situation, identified as Reynolds, and a black officer whose nameplate showed Washington and whose expression revealed internal conflict. "Ma'am, we need to speak with a juvenile who just entered this residence," Officer Daniel stated, his tone carrying the expectation of immediate compliance. "She's wanted in connection with a theft at the park." Maya stood firmly in the doorway, her posture relaxed but unmovable. "My daughter is 7 years old," she replied, her voice deliberately measured. "Why are there 3 armed officers at my door over a child's playground dispute?" Daniel's expression hardened at her question. "Ma'am, we don't need to explain police procedure to you. A theft was reported and we're investigating. Step aside so we can speak with the girl." Maya noticed his hand shifting slightly closer to his holster, a subtle intimidation tactic she recognized instantly. "Officer Daniels," she stated deliberately, using his name to establish she was paying attention to details. "I'd like to understand exactly what my 7-year-old daughter is accused of stealing, who made this accusation, and why your response involved physically grabbing her hard enough to leave bruises." Reynolds shifted uncomfortably at this, glancing at his senior officer, while Washington's eyes briefly met Maya's with what seemed like apologetic recognition. "Listen, lady," Daniels continued, his tone becoming more dismissive. "We got a call about your daughter taking property that wasn't hers. When we approached to investigate, she ran, which is suspicious behavior. We pursued according to protocol." From the sidewalk, Maya spotted Karen Simmons approaching, an affluent white woman in designer athleisure wear, pointing toward Maya's house while speaking animatedly to another officer who had just arrived. Several neighbors had emerged onto their porches or were watching from windows, the unusual police presence drawing attention throughout the normally quiet subdivision. Maya maintained her composed exterior while mentally cataloging badge numbers, names, and exact statements. My daughter ran because she was frightened by 3 armed adults approaching her aggressively. She's 7 years old and was playing with a toy her friend lent her. That's not theft. Daniels took a step closer, entering Maya's personal space. If there's no problem, then you won't mind if we come in and sort this out with her. Maya didn't budge an inch. I do mind. You don't have a warrant to enter my home, and given how you've already traumatized my child, I'm not inclined to give you permission. Daniel's face flushed slightly. Interfering with a police investigation is obstruction of justice, ma'am. I'm going to ask you one more time to cooperate, or we'll have to consider other options. His hand moved deliberately to his handcuffs on his belt. Maya remained utterly still, her voice level but firm. Officer Daniels, I should inform you that this entire interaction is being